and welcome back. This is Pokalai Nui, and you are listening to Hawaiian Potpourri. In the earlier part of the program, we had been talking about Hawaiian issues, about sovereignty issues, and in the last hour, we had been talking about the mayoral race here in Honolulu, the attacks against Ben Cayetano, and sort of a evaluation on the subject of rail and the honesty and dishonesty, the attack now returning to John White and the unfairness and misrepresentations of Mr. White, as well as on the attacks of Ben Cayetano. On the subject of rail itself, leaving aside the personalities of Cayetano, White, Carlisle, and Caldwell, another party jumps into the fray, and this is Charles Dejoux. And what he writes is on the issue of rail. He says rail is being transformed from a public work project into a private benefit club. And this is dated Friday, July 13, 2012. A message to campaign supporters from Representative Charles Dejoux. Honolulu's proposed rail project is the largest public works venture in Hawaii history, financed by the largest tax increase our state has ever seen. Per capita, even before any cost overruns, the Honolulu rail system will be the most expensive rail project in American history. These facts alone should give anyone who cares about fiscal responsibility pause. While I support mass transit, the projects such as an elevated HOT or hot lane, I have consistently opposed this rail project. The Honolulu rail system will consume all of our community's limited resources at the expense of other critical infrastructure needs like our water and sewer systems. Worse yet, it won't work. The system's own proponents admit that even after they spend over $5 billion of your money, rail will likely only reduce traffic congestion by less than 2%. Even worse, rail is being transformed from a public works project into a private benefit club, paid for by taxpayers. The city hired PB Americas to plan this rail system. The city's transportation director is a former senior executive of PB Americas, and his wife is still an employee of PB Americas. The consulting engineering firm from the city hired to monitor PB Americas, InfraConsult, was founded by former executives at PB Americas. InfraConsult was recently purchased by HDR Engineering, the company the city hired to build the first 3 rail stations, and InfraConsult approved HDR's request for a multi-million-dollar change order right before it was purchased by HDR. In turn, the city's army of public relations consultants, who have been paid enormous sums of money to blog on the benefits of rail, have spent millions of your tax dollars to convince the public that rail will be beneficial for the city and that the financial mismanagement and insider deals that we have already seen are not a basis for concern. Our elected officials should be monitoring the use of taxpayer money being spent on rail. However, the politicians asking the fewest questions about rail are the same ones getting the biggest share of political contributions from the unions and contractors benefiting the most from rail. Make no mistake, this election is about money and power. The winners and losers in several key races will decide our fate for the next generation. We must fight back, but we know that the select few who stand to gain the most from rail are fighting the hardest to ensure that the sweetheart deals continue for the next 2 decades or more while the rail system is being constructed. Because that select few has the benefit of being paid by our tax dollars, we know that we will never be able to match them financially. But your support of $10, $25, or $100 will make a difference. We cannot let a powerful select group of people make decisions that will bankrupt this state. As a father of 3 wonderful children, I look into their eyes and I know that I have to do something to make sure that we do not leave the state and our nation worse off. For our children and grandchildren, we must find the courage to take a stand. Together we can stop the financial mismanagement, corrupt practices, and insider deals associated with this rail project. We can restore integrity in our government, but to do so, we need to elect good people who will do what's right for all of us. Aloha, Charles Dejoux. Very interesting, I found this, and that Charles Dejoux had taken a very direct and very eloquent step in his expression of his feelings about rail. And I was taken aback and surprised, having sort of associated myself with him on being on the opposite side of the issue, and yet I find this, as I say, very eloquent letter. I think it was a letter to the editor. That's where I picked it up from. And yet I'm not sure exactly where I got it from, but it is attributed to Charles Dejoux. And I had wanted to go to the international arena and take a look at what's happening there. And the goof-ups by Mitt Romney as he goes to Britain and tries to criticize the... what is that? The games there. I don't think we'll have enough time for that and being too broadly split. Well, let me see if I can find it very quickly. Okay, Romney works on the Olympics and draws a tart rebuke from the British. Now, he goes to foreign lands trying to prompt his image as a good, as compatible with other foreign leaders. And so first stop is Britain. And he meets with the Prime Minister, and he makes a comment. And his comment was, what was that? There's probably some problems with the security at in London, but he's sure that they have other problems, and this will all work out itself. And as a result, Cameron is not too happy about Romney's visit, and Cameron says, we are holding an Olympic Games in one of the busiest, most active, bustling cities anywhere in the world. Of course, it's easier if you hold an Olympic Games in the middle of nowhere. The allusions being Salt Lake City, which hosted the games that Romney oversaw in 2002. So that one is, what is that? Some people in the Romney campaign is hoping that, well, perhaps we shouldn't have sent him overseas. We do have two callers on the line. Let's go to the callers. Aloha, caller. Welcome to the program.
Hey, Poga.
Yes, yes. Hi again. Go ahead. You're on the air. I'm sure.
Yeah, I didn't catch that about Charles Dejoux. Which side of rail is he?
Well, he's against the rail. He's saying it's going to cost just far too much money, and there's people who are lining their pockets in Honolulu, and he's going after these companies and the PB America as being the parent organization, and they are the ones who's controlling things, and there's not enough politicians speaking up against it, and he's railing against them as well.
Yeah, it's disappointing that that's not apparent to a whole lot more people.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
When I see in this morning's paper when they endorse Caldwell for mayor, they say that McDonald's that he has no viable alternative transit proposal to rail.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing that will get enough motorists from out of their cars.
Yeah.
But what is it about rail that will accomplish that? I mean, by the city's own studies, yeah?
Yeah, yeah.
And their own consultants say you're going to get, what, 2 out of 100 people?
Yeah.
1.3%? 40,000 car trips a day?
Mm-hmm.
There's about 3 million right now car trips a day. 3 million.
Yeah.
And all this thing is going to do is remove 40,000 over the next 28 years.
Yeah, for all that money, yeah.
And this is supposed to be the viable alternative that the Star advertiser is endorsing.
And just the what is that? The rail cars. Most of the people are going to have to stand up on the trip. It's too small. It's crazy. It's a boondoggle.
Well, if they draw that many people, huh?
Yeah.
They'd be lucky if they have people standing up. I guess it should be considered a success, right? If they have people standing.
Standing room only because you don't have enough seats.
Yeah, it's really and then when you have this individual Kimberly Pine, who is running for the council, who is in the legislature, and she says that she's the only one who understands government budgeting, and yet she's for the rail.
Yeah.
Here again, say, who are you trying to fool? I mean, come on, you're the only one who understands the budget, but you're for the rail? Wow, I mean, this is incredible. Obviously, this thing is, as Panos has said, this thing is not meant as a true transportation solution project.
Yeah.
It's something else there that they're driving at.
Hey, a lot of people are going to make a lot of money off of the taxpayers' pocketbook. Yeah.
I wish you could have somebody. You remember when they built the Aloha Stadium and Mama Loa went out there and she went cursed the thing, yeah? But they wouldn't work on it, yeah?
Right? Yeah.
You remember that? One of the workers we might work on them now, yeah? So they had to go find one kahu, they had to go bless it instead, right? There's nobody out there like a Sam Lono or Mama Loa. There
Let me.
That would have been,
yeah.
That would be good.
Let me go to. We got two other callers. Let me take their calls. Thanks again for calling. Take care. Okay. Aloha. And we go to our next caller. Aloha caller. Welcome to the program.
Hi, Polka. How are you this morning?
Fine. Hi. Go ahead.
Listen, a great show yesterday. Can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you very well, Michael.
Okay. A great show yesterday with Leon. Just so informative. And one suggestion was made, if you have him back, and I hope you do, it may be interesting to have him play a song or two that helps the audience understand how he links his artistic work with political activism.
Good idea. I like that idea. And then we can go into some of those other discussions of that part of his work and his political activism.
Great. I'm going to lose reception in a minute, but you read an eloquent letter by Dejoux. And I think you said that you're on the opposite side of the perspective he put out. And you may have said it. If it's something you don't want to repeat again, fine. But if you could summarize why you take an opposite position from Dejoux, that would be helpful for me.
No, either I misspoke or you misheard. What I meant to say was that I had normally categorized him on the opposite position, and that I was quite surprised and very glad to see that he himself is speaking up against the rail. I had not expected it. I was surprised when I came across it.
Oh, that's very helpful. So you're not in favor of it, and from the information I got on your show today, as well as other readings, I'm beginning to have questions myself.
Okay.
Thank you for the information.
Sure. Thanks for calling. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Aloha. And we go to our next caller. Our telephone number here is 524-1080. Aloha, caller.
What about people that will lose their homes for a cheap price because it just happened that the homes are right where the rail is going to run?
Yeah. Did you want to make any statement about that? Or are you just asking my views on it?
I just want to know what you think about that.
Yeah, I first of all, what the city will have to do is use what is called its police powers.
You know what? I'm having a real hard time hearing. I can barely hear you.
Oh, okay. I'll try to answer that question before I pick up the next caller.
Okay.
Thanks for calling. Aloha. And my view is the use of eminent domain powers, which falls under the general police powers of the city administration, is that you cannot simply eminent domain and take someone's property at a cheaper price. The process is that if you believe that the price is not appropriate, then you go into court and let the court decide what is the appropriate value of that property. And so it has to be purchased at a fair market value price. Now, for people who evaluate the cost of public capital improvement, they may make an anticipation that today the price is this, and that. But then when they see that prices begin to increase, especially when people buy up lands along public improvement areas, and with the anticipation that it's going to have to be bought at this price or a higher price, so it's a safe bet. So actually, the value of the land may actually increasing the cost of the capital improvement project, which is one of the reasons people are saying, you're going to have to face this problem of increasing rail costs. Another part is whenever you use federal monies, you have to pay for relocation of the people who are currently there. Now, let's say you have a whole village of homeless folks who are living alongside or moved into a building, and you need to condemn the building. Before you condemn the building, you also have to find a relocation places for these folks. So let's say a person is sleeping in a room and is paying nothing for that room. You need to find, in relocating that person, a room for that person for the next 4 years. And you need to pay for that room that meets HUD requirements, and normally, let's say a room costs $1,000 a month for the next 4 years, you already out of pocket $48,000 for every homeless person who you relocate who is found in that situation. So it is going to be far more expensive. I do not believe that they have allocated for these kinds of relocation costs, but they will have to be added. Let's go to the next caller. Aloha caller, welcome to the program.
Yeah, good morning, Polka.
Yes, good morning.
Concerning Councilperson Tom Berg last week Thursday, police were called at the Transportation Committee of the City Council, and he was trying to bring up about the purchases of land and whatnot. And Councilman
Breen Harimoto.
Councilperson Harimoto?
Yes.
Feared for his life. He said a quote from KITV, I guess.
Yes.
He thought Berg was going to attack. I don't think he would have done that, but, I'm very worried about the condemnation of the land and the EV and all that kind of stuff. So, I think that's very important. So I just want to state that.
Yeah, and whether or not Berg was in violation of, whether or not he threatened a person to the extent of being a criminal offense, whether or not Breen Harimoto's fears of his life was reasonable. I think that judgment from the cop side should be seen more from whether or not, or from an objective view. One would normally be afraid for his life rather than seeing it from the subjective view of Breen Harimoto. One justice once said, the weak-hearted should stay home. So you can.
Okay, take care.
Thanks for your call. Aloha. Okay, well, at least there's a lot of activity going on, and I do not support the actions of Tom Berg. And yet, I have to credit him with taking some action to give us something to talk about. Now, his his performance or his activism is not the normal. It falls sort of outside of the range of normal. But it's activism that we can get excited about. And we can say, hey, brother, you kind of acting out, or the stuff you're saying is very interesting. But the thing is, he seems to be the one who is loudest on the issue of rail. And he screams and shouts about it. When it came to GMO, who was the person on the council who spoke up against GMO? It was Tom Berg. And in this case, it was Tulsi Gabbard as well, who submitted submitted the resolution. So while styles were not are not necessarily what we are most comfortable with, and this is exactly what Ben Cayetano is saying. Well, maybe we got to shake up people, and he's willing to call Caldwell and Carlisle. What are you folks, potted plants? Can't you think for yourself? You got to go along with anything that Inoue says. You know, he may be very good about outer space activities, but does he understand what the folks down at McDonald's are talking about? And so they say, oh, you know, he shouldn't have picked on the old man. But I thought his statements were appropriate. Not necessarily that I agree with all of his statements, but we should not be so soft-minded or soft-handed that we use the the style or the loudness of one's voice to judge the statements being made. Okay. Anyway, this is Poka Lai Nui. We have just a few more minutes. We might be able to take one more call. And until that happens, I did want to talk about the issues of Syria. What has happened in Syria? The United States not able to get the condemnation resolution through the Security Council. And why is that? Well, they blame the Chinese and they blame the Russians for vetoing this resolution, which would perhaps give them an opening to take intervention actions in Syria. But who is really to blame? It is the United States of America who tried to pull this trick when they had a Security Council open up a space so that the United States used that space, abused that space, and then went into Libya and conducted military actions against Muammar Gaddafi. It's not a question of whether or not Muammar Gaddafi was a good guy or a bad guy, but to have this kind of aggressive act abusing the Security Council, the Russians and the Chinese says, we learned our lesson before, you're not going to have it again, we're going to veto this. The United States is now crying about it and saying, oh, it's because the Russians want to maintain their military bases in Syria. And what the heck? The United States wants to maintain their military bases in Iraq, and yet unfortunately are getting, or perhaps fortunately, are getting their behinds kicked out of Iraq. But the United States' objectives has always been to establish themselves so that, especially in Afghanistan, so that they can put a basis in Afghanistan to buffer or to build up and prepare for any possible military incursion into China. So we need to be very, akamai, and very attentive to what is happening in the international arena. Well, enough of that for now, and let's see what song I'm going to go to as we close this portion of the program. I want to thank you for giving me your time, and for Leon Siu and the work that he has been doing, and the opportunity to review some of that work yesterday as well as a portion of this morning. So have a good day, and I'll see you next week. Aloha Hawaii, ahui ho.
Kaulana na pua o Hawaii, Kupa ama hope o ka aina, Iki mai ka elele o ka loko ino, Pala pala anunu me ka pata. Mane mai Hawaii moku o ke ave, Koku ana honoa o Pilani, Ka ko'o mai kaua I o mano, Pa'apu me no sivila a o ke kanaka. Aole makoa e mina mina I ka pu'u kala o ke au